But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. Let me tell you about my great God.
Hey guys, Pastor Tim here. Hope you're ready to get your day started off in God's Word. We are in Judges chapter 8. We're getting towards the end of Gideon's life, and he just conquered the Midians, and actually he's kind of finishing the conquering of the Midianites in this chapter. But unfortunately, we also see kind of the downside or backslide of Gideon as well. He starts to compromise on some things. But before we get into that, we're going to just see at the very beginning of this chapter, you have this whole dialogue with the children of Ephraim, one of the tribes. And they were just kind of complaining for some reason that, hey, Gideon, how come you didn't ask us to come into the battle? Why aren't we fighting with you? Why didn't we get the invite? All right, we would have RSVP'd or something like that. And Gideon, they were kind of mad, but he does a good job of just turning away their wrath with a soft answer. He says, hey, what have I done? You guys have done great things for us already. You've already taken care of these other two princes of Midian, and just allow us to take care of these guys as well. So he kind of abates the whole situation there, and they go back on their merry way. And so him and his 300 men continue to pursue after two particular kings of Midian. And on their way traveling, of course, they've been pursuing for a long time. Their men are getting tired, obviously. And when Gideon passes through two towns we see of specifically here in this chapter, and that is Succoth and Penuel. All right, and through both of these towns, he asks both the people that are, not both the people, the men that are in this town, like, hey, as we're passing through, can you guys spare and give us some bread to the men that follow behind me? For we are faint. We've been pursuing after the enemy. We're trying to take care of your enemies as well. All right, can you help us out? Give us some bread. And these guys, they refuse, both in Succoth and in Penuel. All right, and the refusal, it kind of irks Gideon. All right, and it gets him so badly that he vows vengeance for himself against them. He says, you know what? Hey, when I come back, I'm going to knock down your tower. When I come back, I'm going to, pretty much exact vengeance upon these guys for refusing to feed his men. And this is kind of a picture, or a sign, not a picture, a sign of just the beginning of his backsliding we see here with Gideon, because in no way was this vow of vengeance anything that was godly. It was all because Gideon wanted to justify something that he felt was done wrong towards himself. All right, so as we know, as in the Bible, it says that vengeance is the Lord. God would have taken care of the situation in his own way, in his own time. But Gideon, in his own selfishness and maybe pride, because he's starting to win this battle, all right, he's starting to see himself as a great deliverer, judge of Israel, vows vengeance for himself, not for God. So as the chapter goes along, he captures the two kings, brings them back to those two cities, and he exacts vengeance. He kills a lot of men in one of the cities. And so it just takes upon his own revenge, and then he kills the two kings. Now is when we come to a lot of the great compromising that Gideon starts to do in this chapter, and it starts to lead Israel astray. So he's a great deliverer for Israel. He just defeated the Midianites. All right, they're no longer oppressed. The people are obviously happy about this fact, and they actually come to Gideon and say, hey, be our king. All right, let you be our king, and then your son after you, and his son after him, and just kind of create this dynasty of Gideon. That's how grateful the children of Israel were. And Gideon starts off pretty good. He says, you know what? No, I'm not going to be your king. Let God rule over you. If the chapter would have ended right there, bam, Gideon, great guy, one of the best judges of all time. But unfortunately, the chapter doesn't end right there. Gideon, instead of just giving all the glory to the Lord, giving all the credit to God alone, say, hey, let God rule over you, he, in his flesh, starts to think, you know what? Maybe I do deserve a little some. And that's where the problem comes in. Guys, it's very important to see. We see oftentimes in the Bible that after great victory, especially great spiritual victory and great, just physical victory as well, like a battle, it's always important to be on guard, all right? Not to let your guard down, because that's when temptation starts to come in greatly, all right? When we start to think higher of ourselves, we start to get puffed up and think we got this whole living for Christ thing under control, that we know what it means to be a Christian, we got this handled, and we start relying on our own strength more than we do in God. That's when Satan gets us. Satan works very subtly, all right? He's like as the Bible says, he's like a roaring lion walking about, seeking whom he may devour. The lion doesn't just show himself to his prey, he hides out, he stalks his prey, and that's what Satan does as well. So after this great victory, and after a great victory in your life as well, it's very important that you always remember, hey, I'm only able to get this victory because of the grace of God, nothing of myself. Therefore, I still need to rely on God and follow God in my life. Don't give Satan those openings to get you, because that's exactly what happens with Gideon in this chapter. He thinks to himself, you know what? Let God rule over you, but I'll still take a little something on the side. You know what? I do deserve some sort of reward. I deserve some credit. I delivered to people from the Midianites. And so he asked the soldiers, the people, to say, hey, all the men we just defeated, that we captured, take one of their earrings from them and just bring them to me. And so he ends up gathering all these jewels, all right, all these earrings, ornaments, as the Bible says. And ornaments, this is very important, that are referred to in this chapter, are specifically referring to crescent ornaments, which are a homage to moon worship. So some of these jewels, these earrings, these ornaments actually have connections to idol worship, and Gideon's just freely taking this. And he ends up getting something close to like 70 pounds worth of gold. And with these things, he makes as the Bible says in this chapter, an ephod, all right? Or you could call it an image. In essence, he makes himself an idol. So God just gave him the victory over the Midianites, because the Midianites were oppressing the children of Israel because of their idolatry against God. And now Gideon just goes ahead and makes his own idol. Makes sense, right? Makes complete sense. But unfortunately, that's what happens when you let your guard down. You start to compromise. Bam. Gideon makes his own idol. And the worst part was when the people wanted to make him king and he said no, and he makes this idol. Instead of going back to worship God, the people go and worship to this ephod instead. They go to Gideon's house where he hangs this up, and they worship it as a god. We know that because the Bible says in this chapter that they go, pardon the expression, but this is what the Bible says, they go whoring after this ephod. All right, and that's a picture of, or that's alluding to idol worship, because God often refers to idolatry as adultery. All right, because you're supposed to have a relationship with God and God alone. And if these people, the Israelites, were worshiping other gods, they were in essence committing adultery against God. And that's why he says they were whoring after this ephod. So instead of going back to worship God, who has just delivered them from the Midianites, they instead choose to worship this ephod instead. So Gideon definitely doesn't end on a good note. The chapter ends off talking about how he has about 70 sons. That's not including the daughters or anything like that, because he had many wives. So he's living in the flesh. He is seeking his own pleasure. Just did not end on a great note. And then even after he died, much the same way, instead of going back to God, the children of Israel just go right back to Baal instead. The God they just got in trouble for worshiping, I shouldn't say the God, the idol that they just got in trouble for worshiping, they go right back to again. And then God, I don't know if this is divine punishment, but Gideon's family, after Gideon passes away, is not treated kindly by the Israelites, even though, and it's just kind of ironic how quickly they forget that this guy's family, were part of the ones that helped deliver them from their previous enemy. So Gideon does not end off well. That's all that I got for this chapter. Very important, main point, if you didn't get it from here already, is that, it's very important not to let your guard down, especially after great victory. Gideon, he let his guard down. He started to get a little puffed up himself, thinking he had his whole thing figured out. No, guys, the only reason we experience the victories, especially the spiritual victories we experience in this life, is because of God and his grace. Therefore, it's important that we trust in the Lord, all right, and continue to lean on him to guide us to the next victory and the next victory after that, not allowing Satan, that subtle line, to get any foothold in our life instead. Hope you guys have a great day. Tell somebody about your great God. God bless.